Back to politics. One of the few bright spots for Democrats this election came in Arizona, where Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego won the state's open Senate seat, despite the fact that Trump beat Kamala Harris there by 5.5 points. The Marine combat veteran performed significantly better than Harris with Latinos, and particularly with Latino men, a group that nationwide favored Trump. And Senator-elect Gallego joins us now. He is the first Latino to represent Arizona in the upper chamber of Congress. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So many questions. I'm curious, what about your campaign did you do differently that you think might be transferable to campaigns across the country for Democrats?
Look, I think I had one advantage. Is number one, I started this campaign 23 months before the election. And for a lot of reasons, I had to do that. But I used that time to go out and talk to everyone. And I'm talking Democrats, Republicans, Independents. In the end, we ended up winning about 12% of Republicans, a lot of independents. And we also targeted Latino men from day one as a swing vote, because coming from my background, growing up, working class, poor, I knew and hearing from men in my community, they were really feeling the effects of the economy, and especially inflation. And we decided that we had to target them from day one, or else they were going to not be coming out to vote at all and or voting against me. And I had 23 months to do that. And I think other campaigns maybe did not have that, but something we should always be thinking about going forward, to making sure that we're talking to people and we're talking to them about what they're hearing, what they're feeling, not what we want them to feel and or see.
Mr. Senator-elect, congratulations. Want to get your take on some news this morning that particularly perhaps pertinent to you, who represents a border.
A lot of news.
A border state. Yeah, that's certainly true. At 4:03 a.m., yes, 4:03 a.m., President-elect Donald Trump posted on Truth Social true when response to someone's comments here that the administration will be preparing to declare a national emergency and will use military assets as part of its mass deportation program. Can you give us your reaction to that, which would be a remarkable escalation in use of power?
Well, look, I don't think Arizonans or Americans in general want to replace the chaos at the border with chaos in our communities. And the idea that soldiers are going to be carrying out these types of deportations, I think, number one, it's just not something that we in the United States are used to seeing. Number two, you'll actually really diminish the scope and the trust that people have for our military forces when they're being used against U.S. citizens potentially too. Let's not forget that we have a lot of mixed families. I think there's proper ways for all of us to work together. I think there is a loud, clear message that people are unhappy with the security at the border. I think with due process and with actually following our American values, we can have both a secure border. We can actually make sure that we get rid of some of these illegal immigrants that do have criminal backgrounds and are dangerous. But involving the military is not going to make us a stronger country. And I think it's a very dangerous situation that the president potentially will be putting our military and our military readiness, as well as what people believe the military is to the United States.
Senator-elect, one of the ways that we've come out of the election is with data that now has been going around Democratic circles saying that we should think about Latino voters not as Latino voters, but as just as American voters, many of whom are working class. But you've been making one distinction, which is that of Latino men, and talking about the role that Latino men specifically seem to have culturally or economically in their families, of feeling that they should be the provider, the primary breadwinner in their families, and they're not able to do that. How do you kind of square that circle? And is that something that you think is unique to Latino men, or do you think that is an issue that Democrats should be thinking about with all men in the United States?
Yeah, no, it's not unique to Latino men. This is the thing that, all men across the country feel. It's just that there happens to be a lot of them in Arizona. And I particularly have a viewpoint into that growing up, working class, Latino, as a veteran, I was able to, I would say, tap into a lot of the sentiment that I knew and heard from all the men growing up, all the carpenters, all the cooks, all the janitors, the mechanics that I grew up that were just trying really to live the American dream, trying to provide for their family, trying to make sure they kept a roof over their head, or even, do simple things like take a vacation and live well. And so, but this is something that is across the country, whether you are an African-American father in Georgia or you're, a white man in Appalachia, you do want to provide for economic security, for your family, and just physical security. And it doesn't diminish, I think, the role of women and mothers either, because I was raised by a single mother, and thank God that she, had that much strength and power. But we can't just deny that there is something out there that is pulling men away from the party that does provide economic security to someone like Donald Trump and the Republican Party that does not provide that.
Senator-elect Gallego, I'd love to get you to weigh in on some of the latest nominations, especially as a veteran yourself, on the picks for DOD and other national security positions.
Well, look, any national security position has to begin with question number one. Are you going to protect the Constitution of the United States? Number two, are you going to be integral and part of our national security apparatus to the point where we feel that you're going to take care and protect us and our service members? Two of the picks so far are questionable. They're going to have to answer some very hard questions. Why? Because we have millions of men and women that are going to be on the charge of the Secretary of Defense, and potentially for DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, is going to have to talk to a lot of our allies. And if our allies are questioning our ability to keep top secrets, or whether or not we are going to be there in the end when push comes to shove, it actually really deteriorates our own base security in general. So they both have to answer some tough questions, in addition to some of the things that we've heard them say and or do in the past.
All right, Senator-elect Ruben Gallego of Arizona, congratulations on your win, and thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, gracias. Have a good one.